We usually think of myths as just these old stories about gods and monsters. But today, we're going to look at one a little differently. Not as a simple myth, but as a really deep and powerful parable from Norse lore. A story about what actually survives when an entire world, and yeah, even the gods themselves, come to a crashing end.
It's a huge question, right? I mean, it really makes you rethink everything you know about power, creation, and what it means to leave a legacy. And the answer, which is kind of hidden in the apocalyptic fires of Ragnarok, well, it might just surprise you. It has nothing to do with divine power, but everything to do with something forged in skill and fire.
So, to find our answer, we have to journey to the end of everything. Let's step into the twilight of the Norse cosmos, Ragnarok, the prophesied fate of the gods, where every single legend, every hero, every divine being is about to face their final, brutal test. But see, Ragnarok isn't just a simple ending. You gotta think of it more like a violent, world-shattering reset button. It's the ultimate trial by fire, not just for the gods of Asgard, but for their most prized possessions, these incredible weapons forged by Elven and Dwarven smiths. This is the test that's gonna reveal what truly lasts.
Okay, so the stage is set. Let's turn to the final battlefield itself, because this is where our parable really gets going. We're going to focus on the gods who marched into that final, seemingly hopeless conflict, armed with the greatest creations the nine worlds had ever seen. On one side of the field, we've got Odin, the Allfather, the king of the gods, and on the other, his son, Thor, the champion of humanity. Now, both of them are carrying a legendary weapon, but their stories, and what happens to those weapons, they go into very different, very fascinating directions.
So first up, Odin. As the whole cosmos is literally shaking, he's wielding Gungnir. And this is not just any spear. It's a symbol of absolute divine authority, a weapon of such perfect design it's said to be infallible. With it, he leads the Einhajar, the souls of the greatest warriors, onto that massive, fated battlefield known as Vigridir. But here's the thing, even a perfect weapon has its limits. Gungnir's final target is the monstrous wolf Fenrir, a creature that represents the end of the divine order itself. And despite how perfect that spear is, the prophecies are crystal clear. It cannot save the Allfather from his destiny. And right here, we get the first big lesson of our parable. Odin and his perfect spear both fall. The message is pretty stark. There are forces out there, like fate, that even the most flawless creation can't stand against. In this case, the creator and their creation are just consumed together. But then you've got Thor. His fight is just as epic. He's facing his ancient enemy, Jormungandr, the world's serpent. And with his mighty hammer Mjolnir, he actually succeeds where his father failed. He lands the killing blow. But it's a hollow victory. He's fatally wounded by the serpent's venom, and he manages to stumble just 9 steps before he collapses, dead. And this is the crucial difference. The god is gone, but the hammer is still there. Mjolnir is just left on the battlefield, a monument not just to Thor's strength, but to the incredible, enduring skill of its makers. It becomes the symbol of defiance that actually outlives the hand that held it. The creation has survived its creator. So, now that we've seen what happens when these weapons are on the battlefield, our parable shifts gears to a different kind of story. One that's not about a weapon's use, but about its devastating absence. This brings us to the really tragic lesson of the god Freyr. His fate is just this grim reminder that, in a world full of gods and monsters, showing up to the final battle unarmed is basically a death sentence. So you have to ask, why was he unarmed? Well, the reason is a choice he made long before Ragnarok even began. Freyr had this incredible sword that could literally fight all on its own, but he gave it away to his servant as payment for helping him win the love of a giantess. A choice made for love that, in the end, would cost him absolutely everything. And what did he bring to face the apocalypse? A stag's antler. Yeah, it's almost painfully mundane, isn't it? He's standing there against the fire giant Searcher, whose flaming sword is about to burn the entire cosmos, and all he has is this desperate, totally futile substitute. So the outcome was pretty much inevitable. Freyr is the very first of the major gods to be killed at Ragnarok. His story isn't about fate being stronger than a weapon, it's about the catastrophic consequences of not having one. It just hammers home how essential these elven relics were to the entire divine order.
As Freyr falls and Surtur's fires begin to rise, the destruction just becomes absolute. It's not just the gods who are lost now, but all the remaining treasures of their age are just gone.
And the scale of this loss is just staggering. Skibladnir, that magical ship that could be folded up and put in a pocket, but was big enough to carry all the gods, it's lost in the boiling oceans. Draupnir, Odin's ring that created endless wealth, swallowed up by the chaotic earth. Everything is just being unmade.
Now, this destruction is deeply symbolic. These artifacts, these things that were born from the hidden depths and celestial heights of the cosmos, are now returning to that very same primal chaos. It is the complete dismantling of the world order that the gods had built, and it's reflected in the loss of their greatest creations. But remember, Ragnarok isn't just an ending, it's a cycle. After all the fire and the flooding, something new begins. And this is where we get to the final and most hopeful part of our parable. The great wheel turns. The old world is first burned clean by fire, then it's washed away by the sea. And from that complete and utter devastation, a new, green, and quiet earth emerges. It's like a silent dawn, a world just waiting for new life. And there, in the quiet meadows of this reborn world, something is found. Something familiar. A relic from the age of the gods, a symbol that proves not everything was lost to the flames. A piece of the old world is just waiting to be reclaimed. And what they find is just incredible. Thor's sons, Magni and Modi, who survived the apocalypse, they discover Mjolnir just lying there in the grass. The hammer that outlived its master now has a brand new purpose. It passes to the next generation, and its new duty isn't to fight cosmic wars, but to guard and protect the few human survivors who are going to repopulate the world. And this brings us right to the heart of the parable. Mjolnir's survival and its rediscovery, it shows us that true craftsmanship, purpose, and greatness are indestructible. They can outlive gods. They can survive the end of a universe. They aren't destroyed. They are simply passed on, transformed for a new age. The legacy itself endures. And so that brings us all the way back to our opening question. What outlives a god? Well, their creations do. The work of their hands, the legacy they leave behind. And that ancient Norse parable leaves us with a question for our own time, doesn't it? If what we make can endure beyond us, what are we choosing to forge? What will be the relics found in the grass of our new dawn?